Welcome to Align for Impact. I'm your host, Matthew Naylor. I started this podcast because healthcare and leadership both come down to the same thing, alignment. When people, purpose, and performance connect, real impact happens. On this show, we'll talk with entrepreneurs, brokers, and change makers who are challenging what is broken in healthcare and in business, and find new ways to make a difference for companies, communities, and the people they serve. Shawn, welcome to the show. I'm Matt Naylor. I'm the host for Alignment for Impact. This subject around AI is so awesome right now at this moment in time in our history. And I just love to start with like big picture. You know, are we underselling where AI is going?
Yeah. Well, number one, before I talk about this, I love this. I would love this show. Okay. This is one of my favorite shows. I've been waiting my entire life to be on this. And by the way, if you got this far, I want you to rate, review, subscribe, because Matt's putting in the work. And I actually believe when it comes to your question around AI is that this is fundamentally underhyped. I believe that this is going to be the most important technology for every single career, organization, and industry. This is going to reimagine almost everything. It is on an exponential scale. And what we've seen over the last number of months even is that the capabilities around these AI models are getting incredibly good. And I just don't think that we've even touched the surface of what is possible. And the question that I'm continuing to ask leaders and executives is, what can AI not do? What can you do when you have an army of AI agents that can do so much? It's such an exciting time. So yeah, it's great.
You know, Shawn, it's an exciting time, but you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years. I've owned and operated and built lots and lots of different businesses. I'm a huge believer in education. I was raised and grew up with a learning neurodiversity, dyslexia, and AI is very exciting. You know, but how should young people, old people, should people be threatened by it? How would you, like, if you were talking to a young person, Shawn, how would you tell them to embrace it? And my follow-on question to that is, when you're talking to a 50-something like me, how would you tell them to embrace it?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting. I would actually frame it in two different camps. Like, I look at my kids. I think about my kids. My kids are young. They're 9, 6, and 2.
Nice.
I really don't care for them to learn any of these AI skills. I just want them to be good humans, learn grit, resilience, learn how to make a friend, learn how to get backstab, learn how to have a 8-hour conversation with somebody, you know, on a beach. Like, I want them to be good humans at the end of the day, because they're growing up in a world where AI is embedded in their DNA. So that's number one. But when it comes to new grads, my belief is that the faster that they can learn these AI tools, the faster that they can become proficient in this and build a muscle around them. I believe that not only can they be the most valuable people in the organization that they join, they can be the most valuable people in any organization. So pick up these tools and figure out how to use them. And if you are, 2, 3, 4 decades into your career, I think that this is the greatest time for you to add value to your organization, because AI is not about just a tool. It's about actually understanding problems. And if you are deep in a particular industry, you understand problems incredibly well. But the problem is, for the last number of decades, you didn't have a technical co-founder beside you that is the greatest genius in the world that can not only think, but can actually get stuff done. And so now you can actually fulfill those dreams and those desires and those ideas, because now you have a technical co-founder beside you. Technology is becoming increasingly more commoditized. So for those new grads and for the folks that are seasoned in their career, this is an incredible time to be a professional, to just build a skill set around this. And that's what I would say.
I love it. I love it. When I think about neurodiversity and my own lived experience, there's this intersection of intellectual high IQ, and then there's this other intersection of like high emotional intelligence. When you think about interacting with AI, how important is it at this moment in time to really be a subject matter expert and prompt properly, like prompting the AI to like reimagine things?
I think that skill is dead.
Dead.
I don't think it's important.
It's not important.
I think prompt engineering was always a I just didn't think it was that important, because you can ask the AI for a prompt and
Yeah.
it will come up with a way better prompt than you times 1,000.
Yeah.
If there's one use case you want to get an AI, just ask the AI for the prompt. It's going to come up with a better prompt than you. What's important is context. The more context that you can give any of these large language models, the better. So what is your vision? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are the constraints? What are the guardrails? The more that you can provide that context, the better. And if you really want to refine these large language models, give it a skill. A skill is kind of like a standard operating procedure. It's like having an employee and you give it a training manual of what to do. To me, that's the best way of using some of these large language models. Forget the prompt. To me, it's not as important.
That's so great, because everybody was talking like 24 months ago about prompting.
Yeah.
And now you're just like 180, flipped it on its head. Like, no, it's old news. Like the new news
Yeah.
is.
To me, actually, the most dangerous skill in the world today is just coming up with an idea. Actually, the ideas are scarce. Like creativity, imagination, coming up with something that the AI could never come up with is the most important skill set as we move into the future. So what an incredible time that you can be any human on the planet and just have an incredible idea, and now you can have an AI build it out for you.
How do you think, Shawn, education is going to be impacted by AI? The just traditional education,
Yeah.
K through 12, higher ed. Where do you see that going? How do you see it being impacted?
It's an incredibly important question, and it's something that I think about all the time, obviously, with somebody with kids and thinking about what the education system is offering our kids. I think that the education system has to fundamentally reimagine and deliver on and deliver human beings that are great problem solvers, that are great generalists, that can have those human skills at the end of the day, that are creative and imaginative, but also develop a skill set around these new tools and be flexible enough when they change that we can say, hey, there's new tools coming out. Let's go off and use them. I'm not a proponent of throwing away the playbook when it comes to schooling, because I actually think that some of those old school practices of our kids struggling and learning how to suffer and learning how to work in a team are incredibly valuable. Like, I think those things are like learning how to do cursive. I'm actually back. Let's teach our kids how to do cursive. Let's teach them how to do things that maybe are not as relevant, because it's forcing them to think in a different way and thinking and developing those critical thinking skills. However, I think what AI is going to do is going to personalize things. My kids are incredible. They're just different people, and they learn in fundamentally different ways. So now you have an AI that can assist an educator, assist a teacher, that can customize that teaching to that student's, learning habits. It's like, if one kid loves audio and they love listening to audio, let's get AI to help them build more audio capabilities. One kid is more visual. Let's get them to learn through infographics and cartoons and videos. Like, that is the opportunity, is that people can learn better and faster, and we should drive towards those outcomes.
It's so wonderful to hear.
But do you agree? I think
agree completely.
But kids have to still they still have to I just want my kids to actually just go outside and get lost.
Yes.
Just find a tree.
Yes.
And I don't know, do something. I think that skill set is going to become incredibly important in the future.
Your comments, Shawn, around how do you be innovative? How do you be creative? How do you be disruptive? How do you reimagine things? How do you problem solve? How do you build skills about being resilient and resourceful and relentless in your pursuit of passion and happiness and joy?
Yeah.
Those are the things that I believe we have to teach kids, and I think AI has a great ability to enable that in a way that's very profound.
So AI actually makes work more human, and what I'm excited about is that for the last century we have designed businesses around a process or a technology. We created the assembly line 100 years ago, and we said, okay, you're going to work on the assembly line. And then we created an ERP. It was you're going to work on an ERP. We have a CRM. You're the CRM person. You see, we have designed our entire businesses around processes and technologies. But what we have never done is actually designed our businesses around the unique gifts and strengths and talents of people. We've never done that. And what AI allows us to do is say, hey, you're a salesperson that loves chatting with people and connecting with people, but you hate the back end work. By the way, we have an AI that can do that. Oh, let's say you're an engineer and you love getting into the details and the nitty gritty, but you can't visualize your ideas. By the way, we have an AI agent that can do that. You see, for the first time, we have a technology that is personalized to us so it can amplify our unique strengths and gifts. So what an incredible time. So that instead of going to business school and becoming an accountant and a finance person and a marketer and getting put into a box, now we can design an organization around your unique strengths. Oh, wow, you're a ninja at this. How can we amplify this so that you can just work on what you're good at? Wow, what a time to live. And this is why I think AI is going to be incredible. And and to be honest with you, in the last number of months, I've seen the narrative around AI turn sour. And I think it's because of jobs and whatnot. But the reality is that people are not seeing the flip side, is that AI makes work more human.
And when you think about that job question, Shawn,
Yeah.
and not to get political, but like geopolitics, you really think about the world and economies and how industries work. How should people truly be reimagining like what things will look like in 5 or 10 or 15 years? And how do we as a society plan for that properly?
Yeah. Well, the first answer and the best answer that I can give is I have no idea. And if anybody tells you that they have an idea of how this is going to play out, they are lying. Economists, the frontier labs that are building the next AI greatest tools, they have no idea. I talked to some of the smartest people on the planet. They're just philosophizing on what's going to happen. I think what's exciting is that what AI allows you to do, it allows you to do any job. And when a designer can be a coder, when an engineer can be a marketer, when a child can be a teacher, when a mother can be a doctor, incredible possibilities arise. And the idea is that throughout human history, technology has created new industries that we can't see. And that's what I'm excited for. And I think the reality is that I think we forget about the competitive nature of business. It's like, if you have a superpower and I have a superpower, is it still a superpower? Like, if you're running at 100 miles an hour and I'm running 100 miles an hour and we have all the superpowers, we might need more people to run. Because we're trying to get it. That's that nature of human being, is that we want something more. And so I just don't believe that AI is going to be this, it's going to take these jobs. I think it's going to create more jobs and more industries. And of course, some jobs are going to be relevant. There's absolutely be some jobs that are going to be relevant. But those individuals will have to retrain and reskill and find new ways of doing things. Like, at some point, autonomous vehicles is going to come. We all know it's going to come. And drivers are going to be affected by that, for example. And what is that going to do with insurance? What is that going to do with all this labor? Well, they're going to find other things to do. And the same thing happened with the switchboard operators when the phone came out. They figured it out.
Yeah,
they did other things.
Yeah, and I think what you're really speaking to is the resilience of people.
100%.
And
we forget about that.
We forget about that. As humans, we have to learn how to survive. We have to learn how to adapt and adjust to what's happening. And when you're in a moment in time and you can't really see potentially where the hockey puck's going, that can be very unsettling to people. When you're speaking to people about that unsettling feeling, what advice would you give those individuals? What would you say to them?
I always say this, is that, especially when it comes to AI, somebody came up to me a number of months ago and said, your conversation on AI scared me. And I said, that was not my intention. I said, which part of the presentation scared you? She said, you're talking about all this stuff that AI can do. And that was like part of my livelihood. And then I asked her a question, I said, how much time have you actually invested in this space? And she said, not much. And I said this to her with peace and love. I said, the reason why you are scared is because you haven't put in the work yet. Like, I swear, I've been part of this revolution for a decade, whether it's implementing robotic process automation within organizations and financial services and beyond. And every single person I've seen immerse themselves in the technology actually builds a muscle around it. Not a single person has ever said that they're going to lose their job. Every single person that actually becomes proficient in this always says, oh my God, what can I build? What can I create? Get me another bot. And so my advice, if you have anxiety or you have fear around this technology, my advice is this. My advice is to work scared until you become scary. Like, work scared until you become dangerous. Work scared until you become a weapon. Like, this is the most important technology of our lifetime. How can you develop a skill set around this? And the reality is that if you're not going to, the unfortunate part is that if you're not building a muscle around this, if you're not experimenting with this, then yes, you will be left behind. This is the year. This is like the most important year of your career to figure this out, because there's going to be a huge gap between the people that understand this and build a muscle around this and those who don't.
You know, Shawn, that's such great advice to young and old people.
Yeah.
It's such great advice to someone personally. It's also such great advice to someone professionally, because AI applies to your whole entire life. Like, whether it's your personal journey or it's your professional journey. You just don't become an entrepreneur, I guess. You know, how did you end up becoming so passionate? Like, tell me a little bit about your journey, how you got involved in AI, and just a little bit of your background and experience.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible question, because, you know, I was leading, I was at Deloitte for 12 years. I was leading a lot of their innovation efforts. And I remember back in 2016, 2017, we would implement this thing called RPA. It was called robotic process automation. It's kind of like dumb bots. It wasn't even smart. And it was the lowest form of automation. But when we implemented that within organizations, I'd never, ever in a decade of being in consulting, had ever seen something more impactful for business than these dumb bots running around and automating things within someone's business. And after that, I'm like, wow, imagine if this was smart and what it could do. And so, you know, working with organizations, advising them along this journey, along the AI journey, from RPA to generative AI over the last number of years to where we are with agentic AI. I mean, today, the impact that it can make is 1,000x what RPA could do. And so that was kind of my journey over the last decade. And, you know, over time, you know, building applications in AI, having an AI voice startup. So this is in my DNA. And this is why I'm so passionate about it, because I just really think that it is going to change every industry and every organization for the better.
And Shawn, where'd you go to school?
I went to school up in Canada. I went to school, University of Alberta, up in Canada.
Born and raised?
Born and raised in Canada.
That's so cool.
When's the last time you came to Canada? We want to have you up.
I was in Canada, Shawn. I was speaking at a investment conference. I had sold my last business to a wonderful entrepreneur, this guy named Stephen Way. And Stephen had started an incredible insurance company in the 1970s called HCC, which was ultimately sold to a company called Tokyo Marine. Yeah. But I'd say in 2014 or 15, Stephen approached me, and he kind of started to rebuild his next journey, his next business. And he formed this company, Houston International Insurance Group. At any rate, Stephen asked me to come to Canada and speak on a panel. I think I was in Toronto. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. I had a great time, but that's probably the last time I was in.
Okay, well, we're gonna have you up. We're gonna roll out the red carpet for you. But you know, it's interesting because, you know, I just hope that more people have that entrepreneurial mindset, right? That you've developed. And I don't know, maybe you can share some advice around, you know, because I really think that every single person should have an entrepreneurial mindset as we move into the future with this AI revolution. How would you advise folks to develop this mindset that you've developed over the last number of decades?
I think it's hard. It's you know, sometimes, you know, it's the analogy I would use, Shawn. Sometimes you're fast, and sometimes you're not fast. And I think you have to, in life, decide, you know, where's your passion, where's your purpose, what's going to bring you happiness and joy, and impact and alignment is the theme of.
What do you mean? What do you mean you're fast and you're not fast? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think sometimes people want to run fast, but they're not fast. So how do you build the skills and the will? How do you have the grit and determination? How do you become really resilient and resourceful to lean into the life's challenges, like life issues, and put yourself in a place where you can be successful. I don't think it's easy to be an entrepreneur. I don't think it's easy to be a risk taker. I don't think it's natural for people to just get up out of bed one day and say, okay, I'm going to just go dive in the deep end of the pool and it's all good. I'm going to put all my blue chips in and see how it goes. That's not where our society works
Yeah.
typically. And that's not the way our education system's delivered. Like when you think about your young children and you go to school, it's very structured, it's very foundational. You're not, and this was my line of questions to you earlier, like you're not trained at an early age to build the skills that I'm talking about. You're not trained to think outside of the box. You're not trained to, really be innovative and creative and ask questions. And my other analogy is like there's artists and there's musicians where they're just like constant, there's painters and there's Picasso. There's people that are just like, they're built that way. Their mind's wired that way. They're reimagining things. I really think when I think about AI, we have to, as a society, start to really think about how are we going to educate people to build these skills and this will to think this way so that they can use AI and embrace it in a way that's impactful.
Well, the only thing I would disagree with is I actually think that we are born with we have Picassos and Shakespeare's and incredible talents everywhere. And what happens is that society sucks that out of them.
I agree 100%.
They are put on the assembly line and they put a number on their back and it sucks everything out of them. And the reason why you have a Picasso or a Shakespeare is because they, for some reason, skip the assembly line.
Yeah.
And I think what we need to do is to unlearn some of those habits that force us to stay in that box. And I think AI could be an incredible accelerant because it's like, you don't have to stay in this box. You can build almost anything today. And that's what I'm excited about.
Nice. So you grew up in Canada.
Grew up in Canada. Went to school in Canada. Family's in Canada still. I moved around through my entire career. Lived in Singapore for a bit, but I love Canada. I come to the States all the time. I love the U.S. I love coming here because of the enthusiasm, energy. Like I love going to like Silicon Valley. I love going to New York and the hustle bustle. Like to me, I love Canada, but I also love the U.S. because of that entrepreneurial spirit that's in this country.
Yeah, this is a really cool country because you can dream real
100%,
big,
yeah.
real big. When I started this business that I have today, like most entrepreneurs, you start at a kitchen table.
Yep.
You get an idea, you get a pad out, you start doodling and thinking about what you're going to do. And then, for me, I show up here, I am 10 years later, and we have this wonderful event that we're hosting here in Miami, Florida. And it's just amazing to me.
Yeah.
How important, Shawn, is it from your perspective when you think about AI and building a team, leadership?
Yeah.
Yeah,
to me, actually, I don't need smart people anymore. To be honest with you, I got five in my pocket. I got Grok, I got Gemini, I got ChatGPT, I got Claude, and I got my own AI agent. I don't need smart people anymore.
Yeah.
What I need is people that have high agency, and what high agency means, it's like people that are an architect of their own outcomes, people that can get stuff done, people that can orchestrate these tools and technologies. And actually think bigger, think bolder. To me, that is the most important skill set as we move into the future, is this idea of agency. And if you can surround yourself with a team of people that are high agency and they're problem solvers and they want to get stuff done and they can coordinate and they can be generalists, they're specialists in their field, but they can be generalists. I don't need like the most intelligent person in the room. Usually I'm the dumbest person in the room. But now I have AI. It's smarter than anybody. I just need people to get stuff done today and think more creatively. And I think that's the type of leadership that we need moving forward.
And so on that note, Shawn, like if you were speaking to an entrepreneur and you were really trying to help them, coach them on like reimagining how they should be thinking about going about building their business and building their team, what would be like the one or two pieces of advice you would give them?
Yeah, I think the number one thing I would say is, I want you to take a process, not the whole business. I want you to take one process and I want you to start from zero. Because when you start from zero with a process, you might not get a 10% improvement. You might get a 10x improvement. And when you start from zero, what I want you to do is take that process and say, what would you eliminate? What would you automate? What requires actually more humanity? Knowing everything that we know about all the AI tools today, how would you rebuild this? Let me give you an example of this. A CEO of a marketing company came up to me and she's like, hey, okay, so how would I start from zero in a marketing company? Well, I said, the old way of doing marketing would be like you would get your teams together, you would plan, you would strategize, you would pre-script, you would do production, pre-production, post-production, and then you'd figure out what creative assets you put in the world. In the new world, what I would do is I would literally get everybody on the team to come up with what the final vision, what the final deliverable, what the final film, what the creative assets are going to look like. Because when everyone can see the vision 10 times more clearly, they can execute 10 times better. That's what working in an agentic world really looks like, is that the end is now the beginning. And now you can build up and go through production, and it's just faster and better. That's not a 10% improvement, that's a 10x improvement. That's what starting from zero really is. And the other thing that I would say to an entrepreneur is like, be on the leading edge of what all the young startups and technology companies are doing today. They're using things like Anthropic's Claude Code. They're using open source, open innovations like this thing called OpenClaw. They're using the leading edge of what's happening in AI. And you don't need a technologist to be in your company to do this. Just spend like a day on YouTube or X or Reddit and just learn how they're doing it, and just copy and paste and run it. And that's what I'm seeing with so many like savvy entrepreneurs and founders. That's what they're doing. And if you are a entrepreneur, it's like we need to become a rookie again, to be, hey, remember that time when we had that entrepreneurial spirit where we would just work on the weekends and the weeknights and like figure out this new thing? We need to bring that energy back, because people are building in fundamentally new ways. The playbook of how you build something today is over. There's a new playbook. And we need to figure out how people are running businesses today.
Yeah, and I love earlier on being uncomfortable. Your comments around like leaning into, new beginnings, and I think that is in the DNA of an entrepreneur. Shawn, what have I not asked you that you would like me to ask you? What have I missed?
Well, so by the way, on that note, I think we have to step into this uncertainty. We have to step into this uncertainty because of those old playbooks are done. And the unfortunate part is that we all just have to hold our hands together and navigate this uncertainty. Somebody asked me, when is the change going to stop? There's all these geopolitical things happening. There's all this AI stuff happening. Like, when is the change going to stop? It is never going to stop. It is going to be on an exponential scale. And so I would just say you need to build this muscle around just being okay with driving uncertainty. And to your question around what have you not asked? Number one, if you got this far, rate, subscribe, review, whatever you got to do in this pod. I think we covered it. I just had a lot of fun with you. And
yeah.
I guess the one thing that you haven't asked is that, and maybe I'll ask this to you, why is this industry a little bit more reluctant to implement AI? I believe that this is such an incredible opportunity for us to run towards it, because in some way, it's a data-driven, so many pieces are digital. It's like we should be running towards it, but people are not.
Yeah, Shawn, you're young, innovative, creative, progressive entrepreneur that has embraced technology and AI, because I can hear it. It's your passion, it's your purpose. It brings you a lot of joy and happiness. And that's where I think about alignment and impact. When you think about healthcare in the United States, there's a massive amount of bureaucracy. There's a massive amount of lack of alignment. There's an incredible misalignment on where impact should be and how impact should work. And there's just a massive system working against the things that you're speaking to. But it's a wonderful opportunity for companies, because the problem is so large and people are not innovative, they're not creative, they're not nimble, they're not flexible. They want the status quo. That's where great innovation can happen.
100%.
That's where great things can take place, because people aren't going to accept that that's the way it has to always be. And so we're at this inflection point with healthcare in our country and the healthcare system that's set up. I'm not a big believer in a single payer health system. I don't think that's the right thing to do for the American people. I don't think it'll serve the American public the right way. I don't think it'll produce the best outcomes. I don't think it'll lower cost. I don't think it'll create the right experience for the consumer of healthcare. I think healthcare should be at the decision of the patient and the patient-doctor relationship. But the fundamentals of the way the system are set up, it's been broken for a really long time. And what I love about AI and what I love about what you're saying is there's an opportunity now at this moment in time. If you leverage innovation, if you leverage AI, in a way. You can do things today you could never have done 10 years ago, and you can actually change the system. You can impact it.
Yep.
You can find alignment and get to the right outcomes. That's what I'm so excited about.
Yeah, well, I think we should leave it with that. Somebody clip that out, because that's the message that we need for healthcare.
Yeah.
It is broken in this country, and I think that this is the inflection point, and to create opportunity, leveraging these technologies, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, well, it's been great.
This is awesome.
I appreciate it. It's been great.
I'm happy to be back.
Yeah.
Guys, this
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is Matthew Naylor. You've been listening to Aligned for Impact.